How Brett Favre is going to be able to handle this, I have no idea.
I knew if I played and played okay, people say, well, what do you expect under those circumstances? But I didn't want that. And honestly, my dad, I know he would have said, get your ass out there and you play.
December 22nd, 2003, Oakland Coliseum, Monday Night Football. 24 hours earlier, Brett Favre's father died of a heart attack. 24 hours earlier, the toughest man in football got the news that would break any other player. And tonight, with the entire football world watching, wondering if he'd even show up, Brett Favre walked onto that field. What happened next wasn't just a football game. It was 399 yards, 4 touchdowns, a perfect passer rating in the first half.
Favre was 5 for 5 for 105 yards, is 6 for 6 and a touchdown to Javon Walker.
A performance so otherworldly that even Raiders fans, the most brutal fans in football, gave him a standing ovation. There will never be another Brett Favre. Chapter 1. The Rise. Brett Favre wasn't supposed to make it to the NFL at all. Born in Gulfport, Mississippi, raised in the tiny town of Kiln, he was a kid from nowhere with dreams that seemed impossible. Population 2,000. His father, Irvin Favre, was a high school football coach who ran the wishbone offense at Hancock High School. 3 running backs, minimal passing. Brett played quarterback, but he also played linebacker, defensive back, punter, kicker, and safety. 9 passes a game, and Big Irv complained they were throwing too much.
Southern Miss put a freshman in at quarterback, Brett Favre, and Favre shows some cool on this one, finding Chris McGee for the touchdown.
The wishbone was about ground and pound, not launching rockets downfield. So when college scouts came looking, they saw an athlete, not a quarterback. Southern Mississippi offered him a scholarship to play defensive back, not quarterback. Defensive back. The kid with the rocket arm was being recruited to tackle people, but Favre took it because it was his ticket out. He arrived on campus as the 7th string quarterback, behind 6 other guys who the coaches liked better. But Favre kept showing up to practice, kept throwing the ball, kept proving he belonged. By the second half of his 3rd game as a freshman, the starter was struggling. The backup wasn't cutting it. Southern Miss was losing to Tulane and needed something different. They put in the kid from Kiln. Favre led a comeback victory. The next week, he started, and for the next 4 years, he never gave up that job. The numbers he put up were staggering. In 1989, his junior year, Favre led Southern Miss to a stunning 30-26 upset of 6th-ranked Florida State on national television, hitting tight end Anthony Harris with a short touchdown pass in the final minutes.
Favre, toss to the end zone, touchdown, beautiful play call.
That season, he set school single-season records, 2,588 passing yards and 14 touchdowns. He put up ridiculous numbers against small school competition. He set school records. He showed flashes of absolute brilliance. But he played in the independent conference. He wasn't at Miami or Florida State or Notre Dame. NFL scouts were intrigued, but not convinced. Great arm, small school became the recurring theme. Then, just before his senior season, everything almost ended. July 14th, 1990, midsummer. Favre had spent the day fishing on the Gulf of Mexico with his brother Scott and a few teammates. They'd been drinking, hanging out, enjoying the break from football.
Hey, Brett, did you know you just hit cameraman Tim? Tim the photographer got
yeah. Who said I can't cast?
You know what you need back here, though? Seriously, Brett, is some bait mate. We got any bait mate in here, Jim?
Yeah, we need something.
I'll tell you, man, that's what you need.
That bait mate's going to do it.
Around 6 p.m., they headed home. Favre was driving his 1989 Nissan Maxima. Scott was following in another car. They were less than a mile from the Favre family home when Brett came around a bend too fast. The car left the road. Favre overcorrected. The Maxima shot across the pavement and started flipping. Once, twice, 3 times. The car rolled sideways through the air and slammed into a tree. Favre was unconscious, crumpled behind the back seat, covered in broken glass and blood.
This young man is a tremendous quarterback, has been for Curly Hallman all year and is for Jeff Bauer tonight. Chris Fowler will pick up, though, a story along Brett's road to a near tragic end.
USM senior quarterback and Hancock County resident Brett Favre is listed in stable condition tonight at Gulfport Memorial Hospital following a car accident this evening in Diamond Head.
Scott and teammate Keith Loescher pulled Brett from the wreckage. For several seconds, Favre didn't move, didn't make a sound. They thought he was dead. The ambulance arrived minutes later. Favre was loaded in. His mother Bonita rode with him, sitting beside her son as he drifted in and out of consciousness. When they asked him questions, he only asked one thing: will I be able to play football again? At the hospital, doctors found the damage: hematoma to his liver, deep cut on his left knee, severely bruised left arm, bruised vertebra, and internal bleeding that required emergency surgery. They operated immediately. When they opened him up, they found the problem. Favre's small intestine was destroyed. They had to remove 30 inches just to save his life. When he woke up, the doctor's message was clear. Football was over. His season was done. Maybe his career. He needed to focus on healing, on learning to walk again, on getting his life back together. Brett Favre heard those words and ignored every single one. 8 weeks after the accident, on September 8, 1990, Brett Favre took the field against the ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Favre had lost 35 pounds. His body was still healing. He looked gaunt, weak, nothing like the player who dominated the previous season. At halftime, it showed. Alabama had outgained Southern Miss 241 yards to 36 yards and held a 17-10 lead. The Golden Eagles looked overmatched. But in the second half, something changed. Favre started making throws he had no business making. With just over 7 minutes left and the game tied 24-24, Southern Miss took over at their own 20-yard line. They drove down the field. After the game, Gene Stallings, a legendary coach who'd seen everything in decades of football, said something that became prophecy. You can call it a miracle, or a legend, or whatever you want to. I just know that on that day, Brett Favre was larger than life. That performance should have made Favre a first-round pick, should have put him on every team's radar. But the concerns remained. Small school, reckless off the field. The car accident raised questions about his decision-making. Teams passed. The Atlanta Falcons finally selected him in the second round of the 1991 draft.
Atlanta has selected Brett Favre, quarterback, Southern Mississippi.
Pick 33. Favre's rookie year in Atlanta was a disaster. Head coach Jerry Glanville never wanted him. Glanville famously told reporters it would take a plane crash for Favre to see the field. Favre spent the season holding a clipboard and running the scout team. When he finally got into a game, he looked lost. His stat line for the entire season: 4 pass attempts, 0 completions, 2 interceptions, 1 sack for -11 yards. That was it. That was Brett Favre's rookie season. The Falcons wanted to cut him. They'd already decided he wasn't their future. Then Ron Wolf became general manager of the Green Bay Packers. He was always in love with Brett Favre's talent and wanted to draft him when he was the assistant GM of the Jets. On December 1st, 1991, Wolf watched Favre warm up before a Packers-Falcons game, turned to one of his assistants, and said something that would change NFL history. "That's the guy I'm going to get." 2 months later, Wolf traded a first-round pick, the 17th overall selection, for the failed backup. Packers executives thought he was crazy. Team doctors found avascular necrosis in Favre's hip and recommended canceling the trade. Ron Wolf overruled everyone.
What were those moments, Ron, where you got that conviction on Brett Favre?
A guy named Famous Coleman, one of the great names in college football, said I need to look at him from the previous year, which I did, and wow, I was amazed at how lightning and how good he was.
Brett Favre was a Green Bay Packer. Chapter 2, The Dominance. The 1992 season started with Don Majkowski as the starting quarterback. Favre was the backup. Again, he'd traveled halfway across the country just to hold another clipboard. Week 1, didn't play. Week 2, didn't play. Week 3, September 20th, 1992. The Packers traveled to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. First quarter, Majkowski went down with a severe ankle injury. Mike Holmgren, the first-year head coach, turned to his bench. Favre, you're in.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre will be the next quarterback.
Well, they're going to make do without a stretcher for the moment for Mikowski. Obviously, he'll go directly to the locker room for...
Brett Favre jogged onto the field. He engineered a fourth-quarter comeback.
With plenty of time, over the middle, and it's caught by Jackie Harris.
The Packers won 24-23 on a touchdown pass to Kittrick Taylor with 13 seconds left. The backup from Mississippi had just stolen a road game in the final seconds. The next week, Favre started against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Packers won 17-3. Favre threw for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. Holmgren named him the permanent starter. Brett Favre would start every single game for the next 18.5 years. 297 consecutive regular season starts, 321 including playoffs. From September 27, 1992 to December 5, 2010, nearly 2 decades without missing a single game. During that stretch, 238 other quarterbacks started NFL games. 117 different coaches led teams. Injuries that would sideline other players for weeks. Broken bones, torn ligaments, sprained joints, deep cuts requiring stitches didn't stop Favre. He played through everything. The Iron Man streak became legendary. Defensive end Jim Marshall had held the record at 270 consecutive defensive starts since 1979. Favre broke it in 2009 and kept going.
And here is Brett Favre. Fires left, it's caught by Percy, reaches out, touchdown!
But the streak was just the foundation. What Favre built on top of it was unprecedented. The 1995 season was Favre's breakthrough. 4,413 passing yards, 38 touchdown passes, leading the league. Only 13 interceptions. Quarterback rating of 99.5. He led the Packers to an 11-5 record, their best in nearly 30 years.
Favre has time, and wide open down the middle is Keith Jackson.
And an NFC Championship game appearance. They lost to Dallas, but something had shifted. The Packers were legitimate contenders again. And Brett Favre won his first NFL Most Valuable Player award. 1996 was perfection. Favre threw for 3,899 yards and a career-high 39 touchdown passes, the third highest single-season total in NFL history at that time.
Favre gets it to Brooks. And Brooks.
The Packers went 13-3, tied for the best record in football. They led the league in points scored with 456. They allowed the fewest points in the league with 210. The defense set an NFL record by allowing just 19 touchdowns all season. Green Bay rolled through the playoffs. They crushed the San Francisco 49ers 35-14 in the divisional round. They dominated the Carolina Panthers 30-13 in the NFC Championship game. And on January 26, 1997, they headed to Super Bowl 31 at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans, less than 90 miles from Favre's hometown of Kiln. The opponent, the New England Patriots. The matchup everyone wanted. The gunslinger from Mississippi versus Bill Parcells and Drew Bledsoe. The Packers were 14-point favorites, but favorites don't always win Super Bowls. The Superdome was electric. When Brett Favre jogged onto the field for warm-ups, the stadium erupted. Cheeseheads and Louisiana natives screaming as one. First quarter, 8:35 remaining. Favre dropped back from the Patriots' 37-yard line. He saw Andre Rison breaking free down the left sideline. The ball left his hand like a rocket. Rison caught it in stride at the 10-yard line and dove into the end zone. Touchdown.
His first one. Going deep, has a man open. Andre Rison.
Packers 7, Patriots 0. The Superdome shook. Favre pumped his fist. This was the franchise's first touchdown in a Super Bowl in 29 years. The drought was ending, right here, right now. The Patriots fought back. Drew Bledsoe threw 2 touchdown passes. New England took a 14-10 lead in the second quarter. For a moment, doubt crept in. Then Favre did what Favre always did. Second quarter, 3 minutes 27 seconds remaining. Favre dropped back from his own 19-yard line. He saw Antonio Freeman running a post route. The throw traveled 40 yards in the air. Freeman caught it at the Patriots' 40, broke a tackle, and raced 81 yards for the touchdown. It was the longest touchdown pass in Super Bowl history at that time.
Antonio Freeman, they're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Green Bay, as the Packers recapture the lead.
Halftime, Packers 27, Patriots 14. In the locker room, Favre gathered his teammates. His voice was shaking with emotion. "This is our time. 29 years they've waited. Our fans, our families, everyone back in Wisconsin, everyone back in Mississippi. This is for all of them. We're not letting this slip away." The third quarter was a war, both teams trading blows. But the Packers' defense, led by Reggie White, was relentless. They sacked Bledsoe, pressured him, made him uncomfortable. Fourth quarter, 11:35 remaining. Desmond Howard fielded a New England punt and saw a seam. He hit it full speed, 65 yards, into the end zone. The dagger. Packers 35, Patriots 21. Brett Favre hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. The kid from Kiln had brought a championship back to Titletown for the first time since the Vince Lombardi era. Packers fans who'd waited nearly 3 decades finally had their moment. And Favre won his second consecutive MVP award. No quarterback had won back-to-back MVPs since Joe Montana. Favre had done it while delivering a championship. Then came 1997. The Packers went 13-3 again. They made it back to the Super Bowl, this time against John Elway and the Denver Broncos. The game was tight. Favre threw for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Denver won 31-24, denying the Packers back-to-back championships. Still, Favre won the MVP award for the 3rd consecutive year. He shared it with Detroit's Barry Sanders, but the record stood alone. 3 consecutive MVP awards. No player in NFL history had ever done it. No player has done it since. There will never be another Brett Favre. The statistics from his career are almost incomprehensible. 71,838 passing yards at the time of his retirement, the most in NFL history. 508 touchdown passes, also the most ever. He became the first quarterback to reach 70,000 yards, 10,000 passes, 6,000 completions, and 500 touchdowns. He was the first quarterback to defeat all 32 NFL teams. He won 186 games as a starting quarterback, more than any other QB at the time of his retirement. 11 Pro Bowl selections, 3 first-team All-Pro honors, 1 Super Bowl championship, 3 MVP awards, and the Iron Man streak, 297 consecutive starts that will likely never be broken.
Coach would always say stuff like, "Well, he'll be there. You worry about, I know he's on the injury report, but don't worry. He hasn't missed a game in 15 years. He'll be there. Don't you even think about him not playing." And that's how he was.
But the numbers don't capture what made Favre special. It was the way he played, pure instinct, absolute fearlessness. The gunslinger mentality that made every play an adventure. He'd roll right and throw across his body to the left sideline. He'd scramble away from pressure, pump fake 3 times, and launch a bomb 60 yards downfield into double coverage. And somehow, impossibly, his receivers would come down with it. He threw interceptions, a league record 336 of them, but he also made throws that shouldn't be possible. No-look passes, sidearm rockets, touch passes dropped into perfect windows.
Favre to throw it. Comes out of the pocket and wings it deep. Touchdown.
Frozen ropes that defied physics. He played like a kid in a backyard, treating every snap like recess. And that joy was infectious. Chapter 3, The Legacy. December 21st, 2003, a Sunday evening. Brett Favre's father, Irvin, was driving in Mississippi when he suffered a massive heart attack behind the wheel. His car veered off the road. By the time emergency responders arrived, it was too late. Irvin Favre was pronounced dead at 58 years old. The call came to Brett late that night. His father, the high school coach who'd taught him to love football, was gone. The Packers had Monday Night Football in Oakland the next night. For 5 minutes, Brett considered not playing. Then he made his decision. His father would have wanted him to play. Before the game, Packers receivers made a pact. Donald Driver told the group, "Anything he throws us, we have to catch." I don't care if it's behind or if you got to climb the ladder and jump on a guy's shoulders. We're going to catch the ball." The Raiders fans at the Oakland Coliseum, the Black Hole, one of the most hostile environments in sports, gave Brett Favre a standing ovation before kickoff. Then the game started. Favre completed his first 9 passes. 9 minutes into the game, the Packers led 14-0. By halftime, Favre had thrown for 311 yards and 4 touchdowns, with a perfect 158.3 passer rating, the mathematical maximum. Final score, Packers 41, Raiders 7. Favre's line, 22 of 30 for 399 yards and 4 touchdowns. When the game ended, cameras caught Brett embracing his wife Deanna on the field, both crying.
Well, I knew my dad would want me to play, and I love him so much and love this game, and it's meant a great deal to me, to my dad, and to my family, and I didn't expect this type of performance, but I know he was watching tonight.
Years later, he reflected differently. Under perfect circumstances, I've never been able to do what I did in that game. It became the defining moment of Favre's career. Not a Super Bowl, not an MVP award, but this, a Monday night where a son honored his father by playing the greatest game of his life. The Iron Man streak continued 7 more years, through Green Bay, through the New York Jets, through Minnesota, where he nearly returned to the Super Bowl at age 40. December 5th, 2010, Buffalo Bills linebacker Arthur Moats hit 41-year-old Favre square in the back on the 3rd play from scrimmage. Favre suffered a sprained SC joint in his shoulder, a rare injury. He'd already played through 2 foot fractures and elbow tendonitis that season.
Hit as he throws. That's an interception. It's picked off by Florence.
8 days later, on December 13th, 2010, Brett Favre was inactive for the first time since September 20th, 1992. The streak ended at 297 consecutive starts. Brett Favre's legacy is complicated. His final years in Green Bay ended with drama. His retirement became a saga. He finished with the Vikings, the Packers' biggest rival. Off-field controversies have tarnished his image. But when you mention Brett Favre, people think about the moments that defined greatness. The Monday Night Miracle, 399 yards and 4 touchdowns less than 24 hours after his father died. The Iron Man streak, 297 consecutive starts through broken bones and personal tragedy. 3 consecutive MVP awards no one had won before or has won since. They think about a kid from Kiln, Mississippi, who almost died in a car crash but came back to upset Alabama 8 weeks later. A 7th-string freshman who became a starter and never let go. A failed backup who became the greatest quarterback in Green Bay history. There will never be another Brett Favre, not because of the numbers, not because of the MVPs or the Super Bowl ring, but because of the way he played. Brett Favre was tougher, more fearless, and more unpredictable than any quarterback. He made jaw-dropping throws and head-scratching mistakes. He was flawed and brilliant and impossible to look away from. And on December 22, 2003, he proved that greatness isn't measured in yards or touchdowns. Sometimes it's measured in showing up when it would be easier to stay home, in honoring the people who made you who you are, in being larger than life when life has knocked you down. If you enjoyed this documentary, smash that like button and subscribe for more legendary football stories every week. Drop a comment telling us your favorite Brett Favre moment. And remember, End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.